at the start of episode 3 is just like some cunnilingus, and it was just like, oh, it's weird to say like, wow, this psychopathic guy is actually quite a feminist and egalitarian because like, oh, he believes in reciprocal sex as well. Okay, like, will he beat a dude up? Yeah, but he also believes in women's rights to pleasure.
Hello everybody, welcome to Chatty AF, the anime feminist podcast. Over here we look at Japanese pop culture through an intersectional feminist lens, and today you're tuning in to our mid-season check-in on the fall 2024 season. I'm Alex, one of the managing editors here behind the scenes. You can find me on Blue Sky at AR Henderson, and you can find me keeping the supposedly dead art of the blog alive over at theaficionado.wordpress.com. I'm joined today by my intrepid co-workers Sai and Peter.
Hi everyone, I'm Sai. I'm a staff editor here who's tripping over their words because like don't believe that words are easy when you edit. And you can also find me on Blue Sky at Pixelated Lenses, where I am keeping the faith every day.
And I'm Peter Phobian. I'm an editor here at Anime Feminist, and I'm Peter Phobian on Blue Sky.
Fantastic. Thank you both for being here today. It's been a weird week, but we are here to talk about some anime and head on into that exciting world. Bit of a distraction? We hope so. We hope you enjoy listening along, folks. So, if you haven't listened to one of our seasonal episodes before, I'll give you a quick rundown on how it works. We like to give you a fun multimedia experience here at Anifem, so here's how the kind of life cycle of our seasonal coverage goes. We start off with written reviews of all the premieres, putting out our first impressions of all the new shows. We then check in with some of them about 3 episodes in, and you can find all those updates together in one big post. And then we pop over to the podcast medium for a more general chat about how things are progressing at the midpoint and again at season's end, before bringing it all together for another big post of all of our recommendations. We're not covering every show, simply because they are making too many of them to reasonably cover. But we've whittled down the list to a set that we think will be the most interesting to talk about. And if you want to help vote on what gets on that list, you can head on over to patreon.com/animefeminist. Now, speaking of shows that are going to be interesting to talk about, we are going to come in hot and start off today in our red flags section with Yakuza Fiance. How is this one going, guys?
Woo! This show so viciously wants you to simultaneously remember and forget that these are like legally minors who are just like having the wildest high school experience.
So yeah, I've experienced this show entirely through like out of context dot points about crazy shit that's happening in it. Do you have any more of those to bring to the good people listening at home?
Yeah, absolutely. She doesn't get her kidney removed. That was a joke. Kidney's not really gone.
Well, she doesn't know that.
Yeah, she doesn't know that, but like the the person she went to, her cousin, definitely.
Yes, fellas, has your friend ever played a prank on you where they told you they took your kidney, but they actually just are keeping a lot of your blood in a fridge somewhere?
No, I can't say I have had that experience.
That's what family does.
I think let it not be said that the anime feminist team does not watch anime that it calls problematic, because I think the majority of the team is watching Yakuza Fiance right now and very much enjoying the experience. I think it's probably my number 2 anime this season behind Dan to Dan.
Oh, yeah.
It's very like messy and violent and horny, and kind of just a very different beat than what you usually get, especially with rom-coms, even like Yakuza ones. I mean, the most recent example is Girl and Her Guard Dog, which was just a very bad age gap. Although, also, I don't know, the Kirishima, the male lead, is a self-proclaimed masochist, although I don't think it has many opportunities to show up. One episode has pretty famously now opened up with him eating a woman out.
Oh my god, yeah.
It's just, yeah, there's a lot of people having sex in this, although Yoshino is not one of them. The majority of it really just it kind of surprised me because I thought it was going to be like one of those like I can't fix them, but I'd let them ruin me kind of shows. But it's actually engaging and like it's got like a overarching kind of Yakuza plot going on that these two are in the middle of. And I think Yoshino has turned into a really interesting protagonist as well. Very much not the kind of passive female lead who is kind of swept away by the dangerous guy. She is very active when all these plot points come up. Especially, I won't get into details further on. She is even more, I think, kind of the lead in this show or story. I've read the manga, but I think she's very proactive, and their relationship develops in a pretty interesting way. I think she's a very interesting protagonist since, although it seems inevitable that they will kind of both end up. I mean, he's obviously obsessed with her now. Ever since she sold her kidney,
he's down bad.
At least for the time being, she does not reciprocate his feelings whatsoever. But it is kind of like she has to handle him and this situation she's been put in by her grandfather with a lot of like sort of soft power, which is pretty interesting how she has been utilizing that so far, and kind of the ways that it shows up, like when he kept sneaking into her room and braiding her hair while she was asleep. She said, "You need to stop that, not because it's morally incorrect, because I know you don't care about that, but because I do not like it when you do that." And has to kind of, she's learning, it's like how to train your psychopath kind of situation going on. But yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah, it's really engaging, cool. And I really like Yoshino as a character as well, because I think that she's a really interesting look at like partially like what she has to do to kind of, I don't want to say survive the situation, but like to endure the fact that the guy she's living with is in need of better help, and like also like she's very in control though. Shout out and like a moment of silence for Yoshino's new hairdryer that she did use to bash a dude's head in.
Of course.
Like it looked like it folded up and she had to break it. And like, a girl's got to do what a girl's got to do. I also, I will say, yeah, like if you had told me in 2024 that I was going to see an anime open up with just like there, I mean, like, you know, no genitalia shown, but it's pretty clear what's happening at the start of episode 3 is just like some cunnilingus, and it was just like, oh, it's weird to say like, wow, this psychopathic guy is actually quite a feminist and egalitarian because like, oh, he believes in reciprocal sex as well. Okay, like, will he beat a dude up? Yeah, but he also believes in women's rights to pleasure. That's a weird place to sit, and I kind of like. That's where the feminist potential secretly is.
It's immediately followed by him showing that girl a picture of his girlfriend.
Yeah. It's everything is like really well set up and like really staged well in this adaptation, because I haven't read the manga. I think I might have had a copy at some point and I just donated it because I hadn't cracked the cover on it, but like I definitely want to go to the manga because I love this whole story. It's so wonderfully messy.
Excellent. We do love a wonderfully messy series every now and again on here. Thank you for that update. That was suitably batshit.
I will say, if you want one major fault about Kirishima, it's that he does trade a photo to Yoshino's cousin for a picture of Yoshino in a bikini. And that doesn't feel great. I mean, I would take him beating up like 10 dudes over that. That just doesn't feel great.
Oh, yeah, I mean, as you said before, like, beating up a bunch of dudes, that's just a genre convention. He's a Yakuza boy, that's what you're going to do. Now, respecting women, that's what we're talking about. That's the sort of unexpected and noteworthy thing here that we need to
Yeah, he's definitely no Kazuma Kiryu, that's for sure.
Shout out real quick to the Gateway to Anime podcast. They were also doing their mid-season check-in and brought up this show, and someone who was not watching it said, oh, is this like a prequel to Way of the House Husband? And the others went,
close.
No.
Yeah. The opposite, actually, yeah.
Very much so.
My mans would never.
Right?
Well, thank you both. Next up, still in our red flag section, I'm going to do a super quick stop-off by the do-over Damsel conquers the Dragon Emperor. I don't feel like I have too much to add to what I said in the 3-episode check-in. I think that nicely lays out the both the strengths and the issues with the show. If you're not familiar, this is the one where it's a sort of a villainess reincarnation kind of thing without the isekai element. A girl gets betrayed, gets zapped back in time. She's in her 10-year-old body with her 16-year-old brain, and she's being romanced by an ambiguously adult-looking emperor, the pretty anime boy, who doesn't seem to know. He as far as he's aware, she is 10 years old, and he's like, "Yep, that's my bride. This is a political marriage, but I am, being set up as your love interest." I'm like, thanks. I hate that so much. Do you have any extra thoughts on this, Peter?
I do appreciate that she is, that I don't know if it's because she's been reincarnated, but she's like a little killing machine since she knows how to fight. Most of what I've seen from this show is actually like her punching people through brick walls as like a 12-year-old girl, which has been very entertaining so far.
Well, yeah. And that's the shame too, because this show does have some things that I would usually be really highlighting and praising. Like, I think Jill, the main character, she's pretty cool. She's pretty dynamic and interesting, and there's a range of different female characters in the background, and it was really cool how she punched through that wall that one time. And then the fucking love interest turns up whenever I start to have a good time. And it's just like, we didn't have to do it like this. It's even like, it has fulfilled a sort of mini prediction that I made in the check-in, where it turns out, he specifically asked, he said that his betrothed needs to be under 14 years old so that she can't get possessed. Yep. And there's a law reason, you see.
Suspicious criteria.
That way she can't get possessed by this goddess that has it in for him. I'm like, that's great. So you made a convoluted magical reason for why it's creepy instead of just not writing it that way.
He was like 10, that's where it's at.
He's like, that's fine. Yeah. Yeah, it's like, I don't... Yeah, no. I'm going to keep watching this because I'm kind of morbidly fascinated to see if it does anything interesting at all with the interesting bits that it's doing. But again, every time the boy turns up on screen, I'm like,
I might have to try it because, like, I will say I am not opposed to age gaps because I grew up reading American author Tamara Pierce, who openly is like, I loves an older man. But, like, when I think age gaps, I think, like, I don't know, like, you're legally an adult in your world, not a 10-year-old. That's just weird. And even now, I'm just like, I don't know. I'm 32. Certain age gaps are weird. Can't everybody just be legal? Legal is sexier.
Yeah. Well, no, that's totally right. Yeah. No, like, that's totally right, because, yeah, it's like, even if she was, for example, she's a teenager and he is, ambiguously older or a paranormal creature of some kind and, adult in that way. Like, that's not amazing, but it's common enough. And it's like, you can kind of swing that. You can make that work. There's really no math that makes she is, for all intents and purposes, 10 and he is much
10
older.
Is like literally prepubescent.
That's like...
like, and that's just...
It's not... It's... Yeah.
I do want to say, from what I've seen, I have very much enjoyed it. I think the protagonist is really fun, and like there's a greater plot situation where she's got the other guy who betrayed her that she's trying to maneuver into defeating this time before he ruins her life. Since she's got time traveled backward, it's not Isekai exactly. So that really carried the show for me, along with the dude, as you said, being not quite human, and kind of he's sort of like otherworldly and a dummy that she has to sort of handle, kind of in a similar way as Yakuza Fiance, where she's kind of like, I don't know, she has to like guide him around by the nose a lot of the time, while handling all this other stuff, which I really think reduces the impact, whereas like if he was the more active one in the relationship and she was along for the ride, the age disparity would feel much worse.
Yeah, like, there's definitely some, like, they keep saying, like, oh, yes, we're not going to fall in love with each other, that would be disastrous. And, like, if it actually did explore, like, a purely platonic political marriage, that'd honestly be pretty interesting. But no, it's very, like, here's another shot of him, like, carrying her around, and here's him being sweet and being like, I will bake your favorite treats to woo you. And I just am not... We'll see how it goes. But again, there's just not... It's again, I have a great time until the boy turns up on screen. I'm like, love Jill, Love the other characters, love a little dragon. Don't love what they have decided to do with that romance setup. So that's fun. Moving on to something kind of equally bonkers in terms of, like, age disparities and also reincarnation supernatural elements. We have TsumaSho, for which we have some notes from Vry, which I will just quote from directly here. They say, "I'm not always sure this is the most elegantly written, but at this point I can't deny this show really is very sincere. In the premiere review I highlighted that there was a bit of a melodramatic good mom, bad mom dichotomy between Takei, who is a super mum, she cheated death itself to get back in her family, and her new mother, the mother of the small girl that she has now been reincarnated as, Chika, who is neglectful and emotionally abusive. Now, to its credit, the show has taken on that issue with both hands. Takei is still supernaturally empathetic, but Chika has become a much more fully fleshed out character. She is the product of an abusive home herself and is struggling consciously with replicating that cycle, and the writing is trying damn hard to both give her grace and emphasize that a child shouldn't be responsible for managing their parents' emotional needs. We'll see how the show goes now that the most recent episode has dispensed with secret identities. Folks in the comments have claimed that the source material steers away from romance, and I'd like to believe that, even if the writing does leave on Takei having a whiff of the manic pixie dead wife about her to keep the plot circulating, she's likeable enough and the other female characters rounded enough that the story feels very human, even in its melodrama. So thank you for that one, Vry. Again, another one we'll be keeping one eye on as we go. Next up we have I'll Become a Villainess Who Goes Down in History. Not just some quick notes here from Chiaki, because the question with this one was kind of, has she become evil yet? And yes, kind of. Here's what Chiaki says. I read ahead a bit and got the gist of the story, and God, I'm glad Alicia gets to be a villain, because she's like one of those she's like the one sensible person screaming, "We should do something!" instead of holding hands and singing Kumbaya. However, when you look at it from a Japanese lens, you can also get somewhat of an odour of nationalism, because it's always been a bit of a Japanese conservative talking point to say Japan's too peace-pilled about the way the world is. End quote. So hey, interesting perspective on that one as well. We will definitely come back and see how that unfolds. Of course, my editor brain is kicking in going, that could be a whole article, but I will leave that to the folks listening at home if anyone wants to pitch in.
Mm-hmm. I think, I don't know if I got this from someone else on the team, but that show really reminded me of the ProZD sketch where it's a villain who's accidentally helpful all the time. She often says, the most villainous thing I can do right now is like, I don't know, it's like, I'm going to cure this person's cancer because then I will own them forever, or because nobody wants me to do that. So she's just
so dastardly
righting wrongs while laughing maniacally, and everybody is extremely confused by her behavior. So it's been very fun so far. I don't know how she actually, goes straight up villain besides just, not dealing with the powers that be.
All right, now, Sai, I understand you are pondering that orb, and by that orb I mean on the movements of the earth.
Like a wizard that would be burned at the stake in this anime, I am pondering that orb. And the orb is the sun. This anime is so sad. Like, and I know it's because it's a historical fiction mystery. It is just also, so Raffle dies. Raffle is burnt as a heretic, but that's not the complete story, because he dies by eating poppy seeds. And then they burn his corpse at the stake so that there's nothing for God to revive on Judgment Day. He is 12.
Oh.
He's 12. And he's caught by, like, this guy, Noak, who is this inquisitor that, like, I swear to God, must never do laundry because the sleeves of his shirts are just, like, a dried blood red. Which, like, ew, gross, you got a stank. But, like, he just never does laundry, and he's like, hey, okay, so we caught you, but, like, if you want to recant tomorrow, we'll even let you go to university, kid. Like, you just got to study theology and swear to never think about astrology again. And then he's in court, and Raffle's in court, and Raffle, like, is like, I'll take the university paper. And then he rips it up, and he's like, I believe in heliocentrism. And they send him back to jail to the next day get killed. And so what he does is he takes some poppy seeds, which he must have had on him. He pours them into his wine, and he drinks a cup full of poppy seeds and wine and perishes. And then it hard pivots to 10 years later. It is a decade since. And we're with a whole new set of characters who are still tangled up in like this. I mean, like, I think society is always messy, but like this is a society where like the model of the earth is kind of crucial to also the relationship to Christianity. It's called the sea religion. But come on.
Oh, that's how they describe it in the show.
Like the letter C, or not
the letter C religion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
I wonder what it could be.
And it's the P Kingdom. Wonder what country that could possibly be referencing. And so it is a fascinating show. Because like this is a country dealing with like heretics in the most cruel way possible, which is burning them at the stake alive. But like also it's just a touch too sad for 2024. But I cannot stop watching it. I just can't. Like I just can't, especially because we're gonna introduce a girl character into the larger plot, which like Lord Almighty, she probably gonna die too. So you know. But it is really strangely interesting. It's complicated because it is like the ugly side of humanity, right? Like the ugly side of wanting certain types of knowledge that could possibly disrupt and upend religious beliefs is like sometimes people die. And for centuries, people died a lot for religious beliefs. I mean, you could argue that in 2024, people still definitely are dying for religious beliefs. I would say there's a pretty major event right now where people are dying because of religious beliefs and because of how those interact with culture, right? And so, I don't know why I'm poking around saying Palestine. But like, it's interesting seeing this from like a not Salem witch hunt, kind of not involvement with witches, but like the model of heliocentrism, though it is a little bit ahistoric because like multiple cultures knew about heliocentrism at this time. It was just kind of like parts of Europe that were like a little bit behind, kind of like with toilets. And so it's fascinating because like you kind of don't think they're gonna kill the kid. And he dies, and then it's like, anyway, next story. It's just I'm gonna keep pondering that orb. I don't know if I'm doing it because I want to or because I feel compelled to. It's probably both.
Keep pondering that orb. Cool, thank you. That sounds grim, but
it's not happy.
In a very different kind of genre space.
Like, I don't even think the word happy exists in the show. I don't even think anyone smiled and actually meant it. Except for the Inquisitor Novak, who's like killing people. He's not even religious. He's just killing people because he thinks that's what's right for society. Like, dude.
Just for the love of the game.
It literally is for the love of the game, though. He literally almost says that at one point. He's like, yeah, it's just like what I like doing. And I'm going to go home to my family with my bloody sleeves and eat like my wife's stew. It's not a euphemism, it is stew. So, yeah. That's Orb.
Cool. Do you know if that's going to be a short season or if that's going to be too cool?
Well, the manga is
some pretty heavy stuff.
No, the manga is completed 8 volumes. I think it's going to be the entire show. Partially because I'm gonna be real. I don't think the show is popular enough to get any kind of follow up. Plus the manga, while detailed, is 8 volumes. It's complete in Japanese and it will soon be complete in English. So like, yeah, I think it'll be complete this year in English. So yeah, I think this is it. And that's probably for the best.
Okay, well, I mean, good for Orb for being extremely different, even if it does make it wildly unmarketable. And, very depressing. But hey, keep pondering that Orb, Sai. We'll check back in with that one at the end of the season.
We sure will.
Next up, we have Negative Positive Angler, which also has a bit of a depressing start. We have some notes here from Caitlin. For the last several episodes, she's shortened it to Negaposi, which I don't like negative and positive put together. That's kind of cute. I don't know how it sounds when I say it out loud, but I like that. In any case, more to the point. The show has treated Tsunehiro's issues with a fairly light touch. We haven't delved into his health problems or the loan sharks after him, but there has been allusions to his gambling addiction and tendency towards an addictive personality. He's moved in with Takaki, who sometimes yells at him for making his problems worse, and the two have a lightly homoerotic dynamic. But this is still me quoting directly from Caitlin. You know who is not lightly homoerotic? Kozue, who Hiro thinks is flirting with him until she admits with a full throat that she doesn't really like fishing that much and only does it to spend time with her crush Hana. Although Hiro is slightly confused about what she means by like, there is pretty much no plausible deniability for the audience. That girl is gay, and good for her. Even outside that, the writing of the female characters is overall strong. Hana is a high school student living on her own in the store and a total fishing otaku. Ice is a Thai cosplayer who became a model after being a scout at an event and speaks fluent Japanese and Mandarin. It's not a super pretty show, and the animation has only gone downhill since the first episode, but it's a nice story about how finding new hobbies allows us to connect to one another and gives us a sense of purpose. So thank you, Caitlin, for the check-in on that one.
I do think one of the charm points of the anime, though, is it looks like they're capturing PS1 fish, like the same fish that Link catches in Ocarina of Time or something, or the same things floating in Tokyo Bay. So it's pretty cute. And yeah, that girl, every time she hugs the other girl, these cat ears pop out of her head. So I think could it be any more obvious, really?
Oh yeah, that's not heterosexual.
Well, one thing I'm hoping the show gets into that has been strangely devoid of so far is he's in college, which his parents are paying for, which apparently he's just blown off entirely. And he has not told them that he got a cancer diagnosis and has 2 years to live. So I don't know if that's something that it's just holding closer to its chest, or if it's something that plot plans to explore later, or if it's just disinterested in. But it kind of stands out to me that he has just chosen not to include his parents on this news, as he's just kind of spending the remainder of his very shortly forecasted life fishing with the gang.
I guess that's kind of combining these very sort of dark, realistic themes with like sort of more slice of life elements. You don't always see it happen. It's not like it's completely uncommon, but it's an interesting bit of a different mix. So it's going to be fascinating to see how all of that kind of unfolds as it goes along. Because we have like hugs and cat ears on the one hand, and then also terminal disease and gambling addiction on the other. Not to say those two can't go together. You can have a tonal mix, but...
That would be so deeply sad if, like, his parents didn't find out. Like, and he was just like, no, just gonna keep fishing.
No, I've been catching PS1 graphic fish.
Yeah.
And having... Don't worry about it. Oh, gosh. So for a complete tonal shift, we now have Acro Trip, which I am not up on the most recent episodes, but... Look, my quick review of this show is that it's dumb and I like it.
Nice.
Have either of you had a chance to check this one out?
No,
at all?
But it looks enjoyably dumb.
It is very enjoyably dumb. I love that it's exploring. It's not like, I don't know, to call it like genre commentary or anything is I think giving it too much credit for being deeper than it is. But it's doing some fun stuff with like the symbiotic relationship between a hero and a villain, right? Because it's like the villain withdraws for a while, and so the magical girl has nothing to do, and so she's saving the city instead by putting on little like bright green high-vis vest and picking up rubbish on the side of the road, and she looks so sad.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess that would actually be really depressing, wouldn't it? I guess even magical girls
it's this interesting question. Yeah, like it's this interesting question, which like other works have also delved into through a much sort of darker and philosophical lens of like, what is a hero? Do you need a villain to be one? Which is, it's addressing that in a very goofy way, because you have this main character who's this like 14-year-old girl who's like, no, I want to see my favorite magical girl living her best life. Therefore, I will join the villains and create problems. And it works. Like, she engineers, kind of helps choreograph a villain fight, and the magical girl is genuinely stoked and really happy to be back in
That's
business.
so thoughtful. I think with like
lovely.
a
So yes,
question.
I really yes. So I remain to sort of see like if it gets any sort of, I don't know, deeper and with more thoughts in its head about what this all means, but I don't know, it's cute. I like how much of a cringe fail loser man Chrome the villain is. I like that his hench creatures are these weird bear-looking things that just say bear in English. It's the noise they make. Yeah, not like super strong characterization all around, but it's like, I don't know, it could get into some deeper stuff, or it's just kind of a fun, fluffy watch at the moment with that little light touch of, sort of like, I don't know, it's, as we'll get to a bit later with another show that we've got this season, it's kind of fun to have like a meta take on magical girls that's still like light-hearted and fun and isn't just grim and nasty. So hey, it's filling that niche. So moving on up now, we are in the It's Complicated section, and we're going to start off with the Ranma 1/2 remake. Sai, how's that one going?
I should say I have zero history with Ranma, other than it kind of like with Utena. I'm like, I know people like it. I know people like it because of the characters and Takahashi Rumiko, but like, I don't have any personal context with it. I loved this show. Like, this is in my top 5 easily. It's so fun. It's so colorful. I like that. So one thing I have discovered is I guess the original just really did not seem to care for Akane. And like kind of made her, maybe her characterization. I like Akane. Like, this is number one girl. She's so enjoyable. She's funny. Like, she can hold her own. It's clear that she and Ranma have the start of a romance. She has a dramatic haircut. And like Ranma keeps the hair because like he's not really sure what to do and like how to console her. It's very tender and sweet. We've also got like Ranma's got a rival in like this dum-dum baby boy and dum-dum baby girl, like / dum-dum baby girl. Does not remember the rival character at all. And it turns out the rival character, Hibiki, also turns into a little black pig because he also fell into a curse spring. And like, where we leave off at is that Akane thinks this little black pig is just a cute little black pig. And like, Hibiki is not going to spoil the fact that it's him. But Ranma knows. And Ranma's like, no, that pig's got to go. Get out of there. Quick cuddle and Akane. Leave. And it's really enjoyable. Like, it's really enjoyable. It's good comedic timing. It does make me want to read the manga. I think I said this in my review, but like, part of why I hadn't was that when I bought it, a friend of mine is the translator for it, and they had dead named her.
Oh. And
I don't know, it just felt really uncomfortable in a manga that deals with gender to have that huge oversight by Viz. And I have not yet checked to see if that's different. And if that has been fixed. But I don't know, it just like, it unsettled me so severely that I was just like, I swore off of this. And I would like to revisit the manga if that's been amended, because I really like this adaptation. And I love all the characters. I love tough Akane and I like sweet Akane. I think I'm just actually an Akane stan. I just really love her. I love her new little haircut. Oh, I love her new little haircut. I don't like her. I do like that. I like that she has a crush on an adult, but he's appropriate and he just like doesn't really. He never acts on it. And I think it's because, one, he's oblivious. But, like, I also feel like this is an adult who would handle that conversation of, like, hey, I'm an adult and I care about you like my child. And here's why having a crush on an adult is not something feasible. And I just love it. I just love it. It's so good.
Yeah, good to see one character is handling that well this season. navigating that dynamic well. I was just going to say before, how is it doing with, like, the gender of it all? Because I am also not super familiar with this show, with this property, rather, and the thing that I know about it is that it's, like, a lot of trans people's problematic favourite. So I don't know, what's your perspective on the whole, like, you know, it's got, like, that magical gender bending element, and that may not have aged super well, but also a lot of people... I don't know, yeah, what's your thoughts on it as, like, a first-time viewer?
It's interesting because this show is really not actually... Like, it's addressing it in the sense of, like, Ranma, when she's female Ranma, it just will, like, sit around tits out, and everyone's like, you cannot do that. You cannot just sit here on the patio, topless. You have breast. And, like... They give her, like, Akane's hand-me-downs and, like, actually help her have clothes that suit her body and, like, feel good. But I don't want to say gender-affirming. Because, like, the default lead character still is Ranma as a mab character. I understand why this series is really important to a lot of trans people. But I will say, as someone who is in that community... I would struggle to call this a trans story. It is a gender bender comedy. And like, it's not...
Oh, for sure.
It's very interesting because like this, at no point is Ranma as a girl going to turn to the camera and be like, I matter inclusive of my gender and I'm gender fluid. Like, I wish, but, you know, it's, the show is and isn't addressing it. Like, that's, I would say where its weak point is actually in the gender stuff, because like there are characters that like will see Ranma as a girl and immediately fall for her because like she's a tough, cute girl. And like that leads to this weird like sexualization of her that's part of the kind of slapstick comedy. I actually don't mind the moments where Ranma's just like topless and completely unaware of the world around her, because like I feel like if you had been assigned male at birth and you had this ability to essentially flip a switch, or I think actually inclusive of all genders, you might not have certain awarenesses of things because like that's not the body you maybe are normally oriented in. But I don't like that girl Ranma gets treated in certain ways that like boy Ranma doesn't. It's weird. And I have to just assume that that is a leftover from the source material, because it feels a little too natural in the show. I'm thinking of like, there's a boy in the Kendo Club, and I cannot remember his name because he annoyed the shit out of me, that has a crush on Akane. And then he develops a crush on Ranma because like Ranma curb stomps him. And he develops a crush specifically on Ranma as girl Ranma. And like, it gets weird. It gets weird. He gets really possessive. And it's just like, ew. Gross. Don't like it. But like, it's not egregious. It's just kind of there. Like the show is not ever I don't think the show is ever going to be, hopefully not horrific about gender, but like I also don't think it's doing anything even slightly poignant with it. Though Ranma does look cute in overalls. I'll give her that.
Excellent. Cool. Thank you, Sai. I will climb out of that magical pool and into another fantasy series, a little bit different. I got Nina the Starry Bride next, which I think all three of us are watching.
Yes.
Looks like it.
How are we feeling about this one? It's gotten... I mean, the fifth episode is a little bit full on, which I'm sure we'll talk about, but what are your general impressions?
Fuck Prince Set.
Yeah.
He sucks.
Yeah. He's a jerk.
Such a jerk.
Yeah, I think early on I didn't have too much to grab on this show, but I think around episode 4, and also I guess they're actually supposed to be pretty close in age. Kind of the first 2 episodes, I was like, well, I don't know. I just felt not too much. Then the 3rd episode, of course, they have that kiss at the end, and he's like twice as tall as she is. So I'm like, wait, what? He's supposed to be your older brother. How much older are we talking here? Because it honestly looks like a 14 to 15 to 18 type of deal. But I think they're actually supposed to be pretty close, I'm hoping. I think I tried to check numbers, but I couldn't get good information on this show. But I guess she's also supposed to be married off to another guy, so maybe I don't know. It's like, cultural marriage versus actual romance kind of thing.
What has soothed me is I'm like, oh, Nina's just malnourished because of society.
Okay.
So
she's so small because
she's just small because she didn't get enough like milk and bone broth.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, she's teeny tiny cute shoujo heroine, and the boys, the two princes, are one of which is her actual love interest, one of which she's been married off to for political goings on. They're both like, I'm like, I don't know how old you are. You are like, again, ambiguously aged anime pretty boy is the design they have going on. They are young men TM.
I talk about this marriaging off being like the cruelest version of The Bachelor meets Survivor. Like, what the actual hell?
Yeah, so it's kind of like she finally gets a bit of a foothold in the court where she's been brought to be the body double for this princess who's died. And then she's like, all right, I've gained a bit of confidence, character development, time to ship me off to a completely different place. Which in fairness, she's on board with that. She comes to a point where she's like, look, what can I actually do here? Not much, but I'm going to, if I am a political pawn, I will use that to what advantage I can. So yes, carry me away, marry me off. I will entrench myself in the court of this, neighboring rival kingdom, and I will use that to keep the people I care about back home safe. And that's cool, like it's a little bit of like world savviness I was kind of hungry for in her character, because I think I said earlier on that she's like, part of it's pacing, part of it's the repetition of just her like going and doing stuff. It makes her seem a lot dumber than she logically should be as a character. So it's I'm enjoying that we're seeing a bit more development as she's like, navigating situations. She's obviously still a little bit naive, which she herself acknowledges, but she's got a bit of more of a head of it on her shoulders and is learning to be a bit more, I don't want to say ruthless, because like one of the developments in the most recent episode is that she's like, well, everything here is horrible and I'm going to be aggressively optimistic, and that's how I'm going to get through and defeat this man.
I do like that reframing.
I appreciate too,
because I think early on she's just, oh, look at how cutely naive and clumsy she is. Like the queen drops the fan into the pond and she just jumps in and everybody is shocked at how a princess would never do something like that. And she just didn't know whether or not she was supposed to do it. And I don't know, something feels very infantilizing about that. But now it's kind of like she's making a decision not to act in a ruthless way like the people around her, which feels much better than the way she was previously, accidentally bypassing other people's calculations, right?
Yeah, it feels tactful. It feels actually like Nina is thinking, because I will say, what a sharp pivot this show took, because I was expecting her to go to this other kingdom, and I was like, oh, she's just going to be lonely and stuff. And then you get there, and the princess murdered a girl. And you're just like, what? And then, like, I should say, like, there is the attempted weird, like, I wasn't going to sexually assault you, but I wanted you to think I was scene. And, like, this guy just sucks. And, like, good on Nina for
He's just straight up a villain.
Yeah, like, good on Nina for keeping a chin up. But, like, the fact that, like, they're having her welcome tea and the other princesses are like, get the fuck out of here, Nina. We gotta run. And she's just like, this is... Because, like, it's so clear it's not what she bargained for. Granted, I don't think it's what any of these girls bargained for. Like, this prince is a nut job. Like... It's hard to tell where the story's going to go from here, because I was really enjoying, like, oh, it's just Nina and Azure, Nina and Az. And now I'm just like, oh, Az, please come rescue her. Please come rescue her, Az.
Yes, and now there's this guy to deal with.
Yeah. I also, one of the things I liked about that, too, is one of the things that drove her to put herself in this position was because she knew that Azure would probably be killed by his own parents. At some point, except she basically said, oh, I'm going to do this, and if I find out he's dead, then I'm going to basically fuck over this whole diplomatic thing, and then the other prince is going to declare war on the kingdom, and I know you don't want that. So she's like, she is protecting him in this situation, which was, I did not think that was going to happen. I thought it was going to be as you're solving all the problems. And every once in a while, she'd trip into a pond and solve something accidentally. So yeah, a very interesting direction, regardless.
I will say Nina has one more good stab in her before she's done. Like, girl, do not take any more damage.
I will say I do. It's again. I also have no idea where this is going to go from here, so I'm very interested. But I may have to take this back later. But I am enjoying so far that it's doing a little bit of like she's having a really bad time in an unfamiliar zone and she's having to be resilient. It's doing that without just pummeling her with terrible torments and having her have to get back up. Like for example, I don't want to say enjoyed, obviously that's the wrong word, but I kind of appreciated the nuances of, like, as you said, he kind of moves as if he's going to assault her and then doesn't. So she then gets to have that little arc of, depicting the trauma you would have from that without us actually having to have a big dramatic rape scene kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like we get to have that emotional moment without the heroine having to be just put absolutely through the ringer for the purposes of the story. Like there are obviously, people have different feelings about that. There are different ways to sort of write that arc, but I appreciate that it's not going too ham with having her have the worst time ever so that we can have a lovely story about her overcoming her struggles. You know what I mean? So I agree. I mean, I want to say, Nina, get the fuck out of there. It's obviously not an option for her because she's playing a political game, in which case I wish her all the best. You go, Nina. You can do it. You're one of our few shoujo heroines this season, so Nina, you can do it. We're all rooting for you. Please don't die, Nina.
You're in the title. Please don't die.
Please don't die, Nina. Next up, again, total tonal shift, which is the fun thing about these seasonal coverage podcasts. We have Magilumiere Magical Girls Incorporated, which is maybe my favorite of the season at the moment. I'm enjoying the heck out of it.
It's so good. I love that there is this alternative world where magical girls they definitely have unions in this world. And they have hourly wages and they work for startups. And their brooms have downloadable upgrades, which does make you wonder in this world, is there a freelance magical girl out there who's running Linux on her broom? Or Raspberry Pi on her broom. It's great. And I really, really like it. I like the transformations. I like the characters. Kana is my girl. It's very new game. In a way, it made me think of New Game. I was oh, this is New Game, but magical girls. And it's great. And it's cozy. And that big magical girl corporation can suck my broom bristles because it's not all about money. That's not all it's about. It's about saving.
Yeah, no, I like actually, there's a quote here I've nicked from Christopher Farris's review of episode 5, where it sort of talks about that. It's this could be, obviously we have the sort of the big magical girl, the evil corporation that's much more in it for the money, and our little startup is the scrappy little do-gooders, which is cool because in the quote here from the review, it creates a magical girl experience that's just as much of a fulfilling fantasy for adults as its inspirations are for little girls. What if your job really was satisfying and the pizza party purchased by management wasn't simply a hollow plea for you to not to go on strike?
Yeah, it's nice to see a magical girl enjoy her job. It's really nice to see a magical girl enjoy the job.
It's fun to me too.
Oh, I was gonna say the episode where everyone in the shopping district gives her food, like a big fish.
Oh yes, because they save the day, and that's their it's cute. Yeah, it's I'm really enjoying that. It's it's like I alluded to before. We had this whole trend a few years ago of it's a magical girl show for the adult demographic, which means it's, violent and dark and terrible. And, this is a really interesting contrast to that. I don't know if it's, the creators are responding directly, but it is interesting to have this is a magical girl show with adult themes, but the adult themes are insurance and corporate culture. Yeah. But the tone is still quite lighthearted and aspirational.
And I really love the concept of a world where there's all these startups because they had to answer a problem with a solution, and you've got Kana going around to different companies trying to get hired, and she goes to this startup. Well, she ends up there because, like, she assists a magical girl, and they're like, okay, let's give you the uniform. And, like, she just gets sent out into the field because they're like, yeah, we don't really have enough time. It's not really something we can do. You gotta learn on the job. But, like, they care about her, and it's like a 5-employee company, but then they go out to karaoke, and there's honey toast and singing.
And the boss turns up in cosplay as a magical girl that he likes from TV.
I actually really, really like the boss too, because I like that this show is never pulls the rug out from you and makes a joke of Kana's boss dressing in feminine clothing. Like, she's surprised at first because she just doesn't expect that of the boss, which, like, admittedly, having worked in Japan, if, like, the day that the principal came in my cowboy hat that I had given him, I was really shook because it was just such a difference. But, like, I would be shocked if my boss came in a magical girl outfit. But, like, the show is never transphobic or gross about it. In fact, there's an employee that routinely, like, updates the boss's outfit to his taste. Because, like, the boss likes particular fabrics. And, like,
they're all very supportive.
Yeah, it's just wonderful. Like, I want this startup to exist. Also, I love that the brooms are just these big technological things that, like, you can encode. And I like that they capture Kai, the monsters of this world, on USB drives. I think that's so funny. It's just like a little magical USB. It's great.
I love the dynamic as well, where, like, it's the women in the team who go out and do the fighting, and it's like the men who are all like tech support and sort of the more sort of human element back in the office. I don't know. That's a fun kind of switcheroo of what you might have in an action show. And yeah, the boss man's great. I find him incredibly endearing. I mean, I will say it's definitely, apart from that introduction where it's like, whoa, this guy is man-shaped, but he's wearing a dress. That's kind of shocking. Apart from that, it's been really, yeah, as you say, just really chill about the fact that he just dresses cute. And in fact, there's been, I like to think that it's playing with the gender roles of it all, because there's a bit where they're sort of looking into his, like, what he does in the evenings, and he goes in with this to his bathroom with this, like, 12-step skincare routine. But the other, I've forgotten her name in the moment, but the other girl who just wears a tracksuit and whose, like, hair dye is clearly, like, needs redoing, she's like, oh, that's so much product. I just, like, wash my face with soap, and kind of looks at her sideways like, what? Yeah. So, we're very much, like, mixing up aesthetic expectations of men and women. So yeah, we'll see how that goes from there. But it's charming.
It really
I'm having a whale of a time with it.
It's so good. It's so good.
Excellent. Well, we'll come back to that one for sure. We have How I Attended an All Guys Mixer next, which is sitting pretty in It's Complicated, because I do have complicated feelings about it. Am I the only one reporting on this one, or have I already checked it out?
I think you are. I forgot. I'm gonna be real. I forgot that this anime existed.
That's all right. It's hiding away on High Dive, which is a platform. I don't know if other people are having this problem, but it's becoming, like, increasingly user unfriendly to me. So I don't blame this one for flying under the radar a bit. It's like, can you forgive me, like, a super quick tangent that's going to seem completely random? I promise I'm going somewhere with this. Do either of you remember / know the novel Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell? This came out like maybe 10, 12 years ago.
Oh God, don't say that time. But yes, I do. God, I was in college when it came out. Yeah, okay. Continue, sorry.
Sorry to throw the passage of time at you. Okay. Long story short, for those who don't know, it's about she's a girl who's in her first year of college and she writes fanfic. It's kind of a love letter to Harry Potter fandom back in the days when that was a much more whimsical thing, and you could, you didn't think of militant transphobia every time Harry Potter was mentioned. Anyway, I read this book when I was a teenager and really enjoyed it, though it's something, like, didn't quite sit right with me about it, and I couldn't put my finger on what that was until I was a bit older and wiser and more sort of aware of, the politics of queer representation. And what it was that there are no real gay people in that book. queer people only exist inside the slash fanfic that the main character is writing about the story within the story. And once I noticed that, the whole thing got a bit unsettled, because it is kind of a weird dynamic to have. Now, I'm not saying like this is a one-to-one comparison, but I was reminded of that experience watching All Guys Mixer, because it has this odd thing going on where like it's very queer but only in the abstract. Like Fuji, who is the purple-haired one, she draws these like 18 plus BL manga and uses her love interest for posing references while he's completely oblivious and just along for the ride. But like we haven't met any actual like gay characters in the world of the story itself. And of course you have the thing where like the main ladies all perform as these anime pretty boy archetypes at the bar where they work, and they're flirting with a female clientele who is signing up for this. And then you also have, of course, as Caitlin pointed out in the 3-episode check-in, the show keeps finding increasingly convoluted reasons to have them like still dressed as dudes when they're not at work. And so you have all these, you know, there's lots of shots of these women in the background being like, oh my gosh, he's so handsome, outside the context of the bar. So it's like we keep having all of these women who are attracted to these women but never on purpose, like either in the within the fabrication of like the drag bar situation where they know that they're women in cosplay, or because they mistake them for hot men when they're out and about. And I don't know, it's something about that. And I think, and as well, like something solidified as well with like a recent, it's done this twice now with 2 different couples where he has seen her out of costume for the first time and it's like this huge deal. And something about that is like not sitting pretty with me, you know, like I think we have no reason from the framing of the show to assume these characters are anything but cis. I think, you know, it's I mean, hey, I may be wrong, I may eat my words, I would love to, but because I'm kind of, you know, it's doing all this sort of gender play stuff, and so I have to read it through that lens. And so it means that stuff when it's like, oh, this person usually looks like a handsome guy, but look, they're really a girl, and they really look like this. Isn't that shocking? That it feels like a character being outed, even though that's not literally what's happening. And just something about the dynamic of that is like, am I making any sense, or am I just like spinning in a little
are, and I will say, as someone, here's my dark secret, internet. I really like Rainbow Rowell. Not as much as I did in college, but I will fully admit, I have I do think it's the 10th anniversary copy of Fangirl. God, time is fake. But like, Fangirl is a really impactful book on me in college. That said, if anyone wants to claim that book is queer friendly, it's not. And so like, I do get what you mean from that perspective, because like, I don't know why there's this discomfort with like, if you want queer characters, just make them queer. Like, quit hiding like, oh, they look masculine, but they're secretly a girl. Don't worry if they take off their pants. There's a vagina. Like, dude, just, you know, like, if you're gonna do gender play, do it. But like, if you want characters to be a gender or present as that gender, don't give me the runaround. It's 2024. It's 2024. I don't want that.
Yeah, it's like, which like on one hand, there's really nothing, I don't know, I don't think this show has any bad intention necessarily. And on the one hand, yeah, it's pretty cool to be like, oh yeah, here's like some, 3 different MF romances where like they fall in love with these girls while they're presenting masculine. Cool. That's a little different, you don't see that very often. But on the other hand, it's like, it has these weird elements. And yeah, just the amount of times background characters have been like, oh, that's 2 boys together. Oh, that's kind of hot. When it is, quote unquote, secretly just a girl and a boy. One of them happens to be in cosplay.
I think if there wasn't a history of this being a thing that happens, then, because even like Wodakoi, a series that I love, has a couple that starts off like that, where like you think it's going to be a male pairing and it just turns out it's a short-haired girl. Like, if there wasn't
a short-haired woman,
right? Like,
that's insane.
If there wasn't a precedent for it, I think it wouldn't be. I think an all-guy mixer wouldn't be frustrating. But like, I'm gonna need some original flavor. I'm gonna need something new, slightly queer, but like
gives you that McDonald's at Home's feeling.
Yeah, yeah.
And like, I'll say as well, there's a scene where like the writer, the character who makes BL, like her love interest is helping her out writing that, and it just made me think of like the Justice for Tomoda scene from Monthly Girl Nozaki-kun, and now I just want to rewatch Nozaki-kun instead of watching this, but I will persevere. Now onwards we go to, I think you called this anime of the season before, Peter, so I'm going to pass you the torch. This is Dan to Dan. How we doing?
Oh yeah, wonderful. 10 out of 10.
It's so good.
Yeah, good. I mean, I definitely, I think on our last podcast, I said like for a while I was just reading, I had the Shonen Jump app just to read Chainsaw Man, and then they put Dan to Dan back on because it was previously web only for reasons that may become obvious as we continue talking about it. But I just think it is super fun. It's held on to like that early Jump energy. I think because a lot of series, I think like the main characters can kind of get all their odd angles and fun bits can get ironed out over time. In like I think that's happened in Naruto and Luffy, where they just stop being brats so that they can be heroes more often. I think there's really great like character equity, both like in agency and attitude between Momo and Okarun. I think they are both really compassionate. They're both awkward. They both can be jerks. They both feel really free, like being their own characters. And I think they're like, obviously it's going into that, like, they're gonna, it's romance. That's where it's headed. And I think it might be the best one I've ever read in Shonen Jump. I'm struggling to think of any characters that fall in love that I've actually
Peter, you
give too many shits about.
You can take the think out because like this is the couple. This is my favorite couple that's ever been in Shonen Jump. I know they're the best. Come for me in the comments. They're good.
Yeah, it is pretty confident. They're super fun together. I love in the most recent episode they their first kiss is of course them just like accidentally walking directly into each other's faces. Yeah, and I think we've discussed a bit like the really intense sexual assault imagery in the first episode, which fortunately I think is pretty much leveled out. There's one more scene I'm really concerned about how new fans are going to take it in the next couple episodes. But I'm actually curious what the non-manga readers think of that. So
yeah, because I came into this completely. I didn't know anything. Didn't know about the Pikmin. Didn't know about episode 1 sexual assault scene. I did know that Creepy Nuts did the opening, and I will say like I have since picked up the manga, and that sexual assault scene feels more brutal in the manga than it did in the anime. It's still jarring, and I'm pretty much at the same episode as was recently aired in the manga because I'm hesitant to read ahead because I'm just enjoying the weekly experience of Don to Don. But it like has calmed down. I think I'm a little bit ahead actually because I just remembered the image of my iPad falling on my face last night while I was reading manga in bed.
The panel zooming toward you.
It really was. It was very in character for the manga. Or like I just feel like things are like very fluid. I love this show. I think it's so good. I love Momo. Momo is queen. I love Okarun. I love Momo's grandma, who is the BB cream and like facial scrubs and stuff she's using to look like she's in her 30s.
Yeah, drop that skincare routine.
I will say though, there is one character in this anime that stands above them all. One character that I love with my whole heart, and that is Turbo Granny stuck in a cat doll. That is
it is.
So good.
I love the voice actor choice for Turbo Granny. It's insane listening to her talk.
She's so crotchety. And so, like, she gets stuck in, like, a Maneki Neko. And, like, it's great. It's great because, like, she's a sassy something or other. And, like, I just love her. I love that they just have this evil spirit just kicking it. Because, like, she didn't win and her power is still in a teenage boy. It's the funniest thing. And I am really glad that she actually didn't disappear from the show. Because I think what a funny element to keep in this story. No clue if we're ever going to see those creepy aliens again. Maybe they should figure out a better way to, like, I don't know, reproduce than, like, sexual assault.
I will spoil. They do come back, but it's really lit. So at least I thought so.
I hope they get their extraterrestrial asses kicked really hard.
Okay, and I don't think you'll be disappointed.
And I will say we have gotten introduced to a new character that I don't really like her. She kind of mean.
Mm-hmm.
She's
I think, we kind of like have gotten the like goofy main character dynamic down at this point in the show. I'm very interested to talk about it at the end of the season because I think these next couple of episodes are going to kind of show the manga's chops at more serious storytelling, and also incorporate, I can't remember, is her name Shirataki or Shiratori?
Shiratori.
Ira, right? Yeah, Shiratori. Into the story. I think she's pretty funny, and she takes a turn later on. But your feelings toward her may vary. But with the conclusion of the arc with this particular spirit, I think you kind of see the storytelling pattern of the manga, which I really like because I think this kind of reminds me of, I don't remember the name of the other shonen manga that recently got an anime. It was about like a little exorcist girl who like she was carrying around like real weapons and stuff in her little demon hoodie, dark something. She was good, but I think even that one didn't quite get into like ghosts have a lot of trauma, and that will show itself in the way that they act, and it comes from the period in which they're alive. So I think there is a lot to actually talk about on like a more like analytical level from these upcoming story arcs.
Yeah, because
I'm particularly excited about this one.
Because that was the interesting twist with Turbo Granny, which shout out to the fact that we got two different types of Turbo Granny in 2024. Mm-hmm. We have the Don one, and then we have Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance gave us Turbo Granny again. And, like, I like that Don's resolution with her is, like, she is like this because of the place that she haunted, which is a place where, like, horrific tragedies befell teenage girls. And so, like, she's not malicious. Like, okay. Let me walk that back.
That made them a malicious spirit, right?
It made her malicious. Like, she is a product of her environment. Because, like, Turbo Granny, when she's not in that situation, is just a Japanese grandma who could run really fast. And now she's stuck in a doll, and so she's a Japanese grandma who's gonna eat all your snacks. Yeah, and because I really do like the way that the show combines comedy with tragedy. Like Ghost, a lot of Ghost and a lot of cultures are products of trauma, like intense trauma. I mean, which makes sense because, like, if you believe, if you're thinking of the spirit as like something that is contained within a vessel and that vessel undergoes severe trauma, like that's going to leave a hypothetical mark on the spirit. But I also like that this show combines like the comedic aspect, which is like, oh, if a bunch of ghosts manifest as a giant crab and we kill the giant crab, we'll bust out the butter sauce, baby, because it's dinner time. They do eat a giant crab spirit. Well, okay, and by they I mean like Momo and her grandma, because Okarun does not eat that crab. He is a little wigged out. Which, like, I'm not gonna lie, I think I would eat the crab, and I don't know what that says about me.
Oh, same.
I
But I think that's just something to keep in mind as new spirits show up, is that something made them a spirit, and that is some like a turn you can expect at some point in the storytelling of the manga and the anime.
Cool. That is something to look forward to. Great year for cooking and eating monsters, I guess.
True.
We will head on up to girls who can't... The tale of girls who can't be magicians, rather, for which we have some quick notes from Caitlin. In my 3-episode review, I criticised the stories of girls who couldn't be magicians for taking a one-size-fits-all approach, as their teacher decided to go all Shang, from Mulan, I presume, and announce, "I'll make a magician out of you," even to the many students who had enrolled in the regular course with dreams unrelated to magic. While I still stand by that take, I have to admit it is interested in talking about privilege. The magic course students have access to resources that the others don't, and the school at times pits them against each other despite the obvious unfairness. It's clear that the issue isn't their lack of magic, but that they are put into situations where having magic gives their competitors a leg up, like a cross-country race they must do on foot, while the magic students can fly. It's a very baby's first introduction to institutional discrimination, but considering the overall tone of the show, I will give it a pass. So that is that one. Thank you, Caitlin. And last but not least, returning to our kind of unofficial theme of marriages of convenience this season, we have 365 days to the wedding, which is cute. I like it. I think the sort of social commentary stuff I highlighted in the premiere review, that's still there. It's more sort of bubbling away in the background rather than something the show is like really explicitly drawing attention to, but that's fine. You don't want it like, shoving that in your face as text rather than subtext every episode. That would get a bit much. But it's sweet, there's I liked that it very much could, It's doing some classic beats, obviously. They've set up this fake relationship, but, like the groom, as it were, his family has found out about it. So I go, okay, right, well, now we're going to have to expand the farce and meet the family and do a whole rigmarole. But no, they go to his little country town and meet his family and tell them the truth. Okay. And the family is like, oh... No, yeah, I mean, I'd kind of, upset that you lied to us, and I was sort of excited about having a sister-in-law for a minute there, but I can see why you did that. Yeah, we'll keep your secret.
Yeah, it sounds tough out there in Tokyo. You gotta pretend you're
you're like, damn, the big city sounds crazy. Yeah. So I thought that was cool, it was a bit refreshing that it, could have done some more miscommunication nonsense, but didn't. And of course, you have another indomitable little Japanese granny from the countryside being like, I don't know, I can see some feelings between you two, which, again, genre staple. These two are getting a crush on each other as they are, like, fake engaged, and... yeah, it's sweet. I like it. Do you have anything to add on that one, Peter?
Yeah. Oh, another granny with a great voice actress doing some fantastic work. I do think, I definitely, the thing that interests me most is just how the entire story is structured around kind of the marriage of the institution of marriage in Japan. I am optimistic about this next story arc with their coworker who appears to be getting divorced, and like how it might be looking to kind of show you some other things about marriage in Japan, as opposed to just the singular narrative that's been locked in with the main two characters. Also, strangely, this show and Native Paws of Angler have had a surprise lesbian romance and among side characters, as well as a side character hitting a Sailor Moon pose in both of these shows, which I think is very funny. But other than that, it's just kind of cute, slow burn, very charming. I hope it doesn't become one of those shows where it's obnoxious how unaware they are that they, not only that the other person likes them, but that they're like unaware that they like the other person, because that can really just make a show intolerable. But so far it's kept the charm up. So we'll see how the second half goes, I guess.
Yeah, it's cute. It's also, I mean, hey, it's kind of noteworthy on its own just for being a rom-com about adults, because those are less common than the high school rom-coms. Even stuff like Yakuza Fiance, which, as you have said, ostensibly probably should be about adult characters, but They're in high school anyway for reasons. Oh dear.
Yeah, I do like. I think it's just. I mean, you just hear the premise, and it's just like, oh, they're getting married because there's advantages in their work life to being a married person, and I think just that in itself is just just a reality that stories don't often explore, is how marriage has become in both business and government a specific status that awards a lot of benefits and incentives and disincentives, and that can really affect somebody's decision to get married, or even just get married without even a romantic component, just to enjoy those benefits or disincentives of not being married, right?
Yeah, so we'll see how that one unfolds. And that brings us to the end of proceedings today. Great chaotic adventure through many different genres, as usual. Juicy season, I think. I think we've got a pretty good crop of stuff to sort through, so we hope you enjoyed listening. Be sure to check back in at the end when we see how all of this shakes out. If you liked what you heard today and you like our stuff more generally, you can check out our Patreon. That's patreon.com/animefeminist, as I said before. That helps us keep the lights on, helps us pay our editors and contributors a fair and competitive rate for the hard work that they do. And you also get access to some fun bonus stuff like our Discord. We've got the Patreon bonus podcast episodes up and running again. The most recent one of those, Peter and some other folks from the team went to see the movie Look Back and had some emotional thoughts about it, which are behind that juicy paywall. So go and check them out if that sounds interesting to you. You can also find us wherever social media is had. All of that is nicely bundled together on our link tree, which is linktr.ee/animefeminist. And of course, you can go to our website and find all of our reviews, feature articles, interviews, all that jazz. And again, thank you for listening. We hope this has given you maybe a bit of a reprieve in a time in the world. The horrors persist, but so do we. So we will see you in the next episode.